Hey there, welcome back to Tennille Talks. So, this is a reading. The title is called The Life of a Lifer. And so, a lifer is typically, in my mind, a lifer is somebody that thinks long term. They are committed to the journey, to the outcome. Right now, it can turn many different directions. You can experience many highs and many lows. But a lifer understands that everything is to be expected, right? And so there's a level of peace and contentment that lifers can make with life, even when life is challenging in some way. And so imagine being in a relationship with a lifer, but not knowing that the lifer is the lifer. Meaning, the lifer is the one. They are the one that will take care of you when you're ill. They will help you financially. If you are in a committed relationship, you are a team, right? This is your teammate. This is your coworker. This is who you want to win, because when they win, you win. This is how lifers approach love. This is how they approach parenting and their careers, right? They would rather have power with you than power over you. And so this is a true partnership, somebody that wants to grow old, somebody that is just committed to doing life with you, no matter what season life is in, no matter what life looks like. And so there's a certain type of partner that has to accommodate that vision, right? Because a lot of people are nighters. They just want to have a good time, then they want to go. Have a good time, they want to go, right? They're not there for a long time, but they might just be there for a good time. Now, when a lifer cross paths with a nighter, what kind of relationship is that going to be? And that is what our reading is about. So at some point, we had a lifer who crossed paths with a nighter, right? Now, the proverb that came out for this reading: the eyes discern the beauty, but not the kindness. Okay, now I think this is a proverb that goes for both people. Now, on one hand, the lifer may have known or recognized or been drawn sexually, aesthetically, to the nighter. Maybe the nighter was attractive. Maybe the nighter was charming and humorous and funny or captivating or sexy, whatever it was, right? And so I'm feeling that the nighter was everything that the eyes could want. But what the eyes didn't perceive is that the nighter was not gentle. They were not caring, and they were not helpful. And so the qualities and the characteristics that this person had, they were good for a couple of hours. But if you try to invest in a connection with this person who lacks compassion and gentleness, and they're not helpful, if you try to build with a person like that, well, then what kind of connection is that going to be for the lifer? Is that something you can build with long term? Now, opposite, I think that the nighter recognized that this lifer was somebody who was gentle, caring, and helpful. But in many ways, they perceived those characteristics to be some form of weakness. So they couldn't see how being gentle, how being kind, they couldn't understand how those characteristics have long-term impact to life and to the relationships that you are building. If that is what you are pouring into a relationship, imagine where that type of relationship goes, right? And so we're talking about, are you going to pour in the charm, the humor, the sexiness, but you're also aggressive, right? And you're also impatient, and you're also dishonest. And so what qualities are really going to take us a lifetime together, right? And so where the nighter may feel good in a moment, they may feel good for a few hours. In a few years, they will leave you on E, because they didn't have the qualities and the characteristics needed to sustain a lifelong journey with you. Now, this was the lesson of the story. And so both people could have been drawn to each other, right? There could have been a pull. There could have been something. Obviously, as a soulmate relationship, there was a soul pull. So the souls recognized that these two people had to cross paths. Although one loved the nighttime and one thought about the lifetime journey, right? Now, this is where it kind of takes a turn. So along with getting the proverb that the eyes discern the beauty but not the kindness. I also got the message of life-threatening illness. And so one of the two people in this connection has come down with something. Possibly, maybe you know of somebody that you had an exchange with that is now fallen ill. Now, this could be a physical illness where it's like your health, it's your body. This could be spiritual. Spiritually, this person could have involved themselves in something, and now there's something that has kind of devastated their life. They'll never be the same. This could be a mental illness, something, you know what I mean? So when we're talking about life-threatening illness, threatening meaning it will weaken your life. Your life will never be the same again. Now, the realm in which this is happening in your own life or in their own life is different. But I also have the energy of self-love and good news. And so at some point, lifer, this connection with this soulmate, you had to choose yourself at some point. You were like, okay, well, the nighttime ends. And then when the sun rises, I don't see from you again, or I don't hear from you again, or I'm anxious, or I'm on pins and needles. Like, the only time it's fun with you, or the only time I am benefiting from anything in this connection with you is like during a short, like we have a short window of opportunity where I enjoy you. And then after that, I literally am going to be putting myself back together again, like Humpty Dumpty, again and again, every day, every week, right? Why do I have to keep bandaging myself up just because I am in a connection with you? These are the type of lifer questions and lifer conversations that lifers have with themselves, right? And many times there are not many people that you can go and talk to about it because people may peg you as being too serious, or how long have you known each other? Oh, give it some more time, right? Like, people don't understand we're thinking about the journey. And you don't want to waste your time developing a journey with somebody that really is only good for 6 hours. And then after that, they're good for nothing. They've got nothing to build with, right? They look good, but they've got nothing to contribute to what it will take to grow old together, right? Or to establish something. I mean, they don't have the skill. And so at some point, lifer, you had to choose yourself. And choosing yourself is what created a miracle, is what brought in some type of good news, something unexpected, right? This you may not have received. This situation could still be playing out, but something about you making yourself the only option in terms, right? Am I going to connect with you, or am I going to choose me? You chose you. And so what it was about this person, it could have been darker and deeper than even you knew, right? And so you may have seen with the eyes that this person was attractive and appealing, but there's something about the soul and the spirit of this person that never would have truly meshed or gelled with who you are. And so first of all, Spirit is saying, hey, we want to give you some support, right? Give yourself permission to have fun. So whatever this exchange was, however taxing it was, whatever it did to you emotionally, energetically, and spiritually, you were being asked to just go laugh, go enjoy, go smile, go play, right? Get your creativity flowing again. Do the things you love. Recognize that your life is going to blossom even when it comes out of some type of storm. Be spontaneous. You're still shifting, changing, recovering, recouping, right? And so don't make any promises because you may not be able to keep them. This is the moment where life is moving and shifting and shaking. And so nothing is stable and nothing is really as it seems. So use this time to have fun. Spirit is saying that you can still have the energy, you can still be in the energy of delight, even if you don't understand all the pieces that are playing out right now. Okay? So that is just a sidebar for what you can do with your energy, all while something else is unfolding and playing out. Now, in terms of you still having a vision and a goal and a plan for the future, it is always the option to be diligent. So always be planning for the steps that you take in the future, but recognize the importance of play and fun. Recognize that we should plan that energy because we will need that energy in the future, right? And so don't neglect yourself, don't restrict yourself. You have work to do, but schedule the breaks, right? Now, because you are so committed to taking the action steps to create the future that you desire, you can also imagine that the harvest you will reap is going to be remarkable based on your sheer diligence, because you are persistent, right? And so you are thinking about the years ahead. That is what lifers do. This is why diligence is something that you need to bring to the table, right? Knowing when to be patient, knowing when to be careful and slow. You're still moving forward, right? But sometimes the pace will need to stop, or it will need to lessen. It will need to slow down, right? Knowing when to be attentive. Like, these are the qualities that lifers come to relationships with. They come to partnerships with. And so even when we bring our tool bag and nothing is able to be built, well, what is all that for? Why did we go through that? Why was that necessary, right? I want a relationship. I want a lifelong connection. I brought all my shit to this, I show up and I get somebody that, all they brought was their dental floss and their toothbrush. They're leaving in the morning, right? Like, that's the kind of energy. So, but why was this necessary? Well, crossing paths, you were guided to this soulmate, or you were guided to this connection because there was certain information that you needed. There was some type of reasoning that you had to develop. Maybe you didn't know that you were a lifer. Maybe you didn't recognize that there is a difference between how you approach life and relationships and how another person approaches life and relationships. Maybe you showed up to this connection because you needed to understand that just because a person looks a certain way to the eyes, it doesn't mean that they possess the fruits of the spirit or of the soul needed to have a lifelong connection. And so when you are in relationships with people in which you are not equally yoked, how do you respond? This connection was a way for you to see how you respond. It was a test, and you definitely passed it. Now, soulmate literally means that at this point you have found that this connection, I've gained clarity about the purpose of this connection. This connection was supposed to teach me. Now, when a nighter and a lifer meet, obviously that is going to be a short-term exchange. And the reason why that happened in your situation is because you needed to understand how to communicate, how to express, how to be clear about your wants, your needs, your desires, right? You needed to understand how to respond to a situation as opposed to react. Now sometimes when you're putting your heart on the line and you're investing your emotions into a person, and they are just not getting it. They're not getting it. They're not giving it. It's not sinking in. Sometimes that can be emotionally depleting. It can almost weaken you because you are pouring everything you have, but you're pouring it into a container that'll never be able to hold you. Right? And so those are the situations where the emotional response is probably the one that can be most detrimental to self. Right? And so sometimes you are put with a wild card, an absolute wild card, because there's something inside of you that you are still growing and shaping and getting to work just right. And in this connection, this was your logic. This is your ability to look at the information, do the research about the purpose, about the person, the connection, right? How can I find a healthy resolution to a situation like this, right? How do I get all the information I need before moving forward? How do I not jump to conclusions? How do I ask questions, right? And so this is like being in a partnership that it pushed you in a lot of ways. And this was a test on your logic, on your ability to think, on your ability to consider facts, especially if this was a person that was dishonest. Like when you show up with a full brain, a full mind, and a full heart, and you really have to look at the other person for what they are bringing, after you see what it is you see, you can't unsee it. So how do you respond? This was one of those, how do I respond to you kind of tests. What is it that spirit is needing from me, right? Yes, we are supposed to work together on a soul level, but why does my soul need to cross paths with you? Why is this partnership so special to my growth, right? Now, the idea is even the painful connections are profound. And so we still have to figure out a way to be good and to be grateful to those special partnerships that made us sometimes a beast or a warrior. Now, the beautiful thing is that what is hidden from you is that all of the deposits that you have made into your relationships with other people, those come back to you, but they may not come back to you from the people that you put the deposit in. For instance, if you're a lifer and you've just had a 6-month fling with a nighter, right? And maybe you gave everything you could to get this nighter to turn into a lifer, but they just never were going to. It is not written for them to. Yes, you are soulmates. Yes, there was a lesson, but guess what? The relationship had a 6-month life expectancy. And then after the 6 months, it is supposed to end. Now, everything that you poured into that relationship, all the good things that you learned about yourself, all the new things that you tried, those are not in vain. Your return will come in the next connection. Sometimes we hold on to connections because we have committed to a vision or an outcome with a specific person. And when we recognize that it starts to slip away or change or shift, we cling on for dear life, right? But the idea is you are holding on to something, which means that you are delaying whatever it is that is supposed to give you a return for the investment that you just put in a pot that was never supposed to be able to return itself back to you, right? And so recognize that when you put out, you do receive. But are you able to receive from another source? Or does it have to be the one that you committed to? Does it have to be the one that you poured into? I think sometimes that's when it gets hard for lifers. Because when we say life, we're thinking about something that we have committed to, a person we have committed to for life. And so thinking about ending that, all of the energy you've put in it, and then possibly receiving or not receiving it from another, that can be pretty devastating. But it is in your exchanges with all the nighters that you are really building the harmony that you want and need in relationships. These are all relationships with training wheels. At some point, the training wheels are going to come off, but these are serving a purpose, right? That this relationship that you chose yourself over, that you separated from, that you said enough is enough, that was the point of it. For you to have so much information that the only choice, the best choice, it had to be you. It had to be you. And you made that choice. And so because you made that choice, all of your deposits that you have put into the wrong people, right? You did it at the right time because that's who you were. That's where you were. You were loving that way. You were giving that way. You were patient that way, right? That is who you were. All of that comes back to you. But it couldn't come back from the person that you gave it to. And so this is what allows our heart to open. This is what allows our heart to expand. Now, if we get into relationships and we are so pissed off that we just cross paths with another nighter, I'm tired of this, I'm not giving anybody anything. Well, then now you become a nighter, right? So the idea is never to stop being who you are, no matter who you cross paths with. Your day is coming. Your return is coming. Your lifer is going through their own version of life and relationships with nighters, right? They're going to get to you. They got lessons to learn, right? And so enjoy the lesson, appreciate the lesson, and celebrate yourself when you realize that you realized it was a lesson, that you passed it, right? Like celebrate that. Divine connections require you to be divine. You have to be walking in the energy of your divinity to attract. And so you're essentially burning off karma, burning off energy, burning off all the areas of weakness or where you lack strength. You're changing those so that you can step into the union that is designed for you. But listen, we need nighters. Like, hoorah to the nighters. We need them. Yes, because one, how would you know you were a lifer? How would you know that you were any different unless you crossed paths with people that just really did not resonate with you? So these are opportunities to learn about yourself, but they're also opportunities to make deposits and to attract what it is you want in the future. It is not for nothing. It is not for nothing, right? And so there is a new venture. There's a new task. This is you planting seeds. The entire time that you are in these connections that are unfulfilling or that make you feel like relationships are always going to be a struggle. I'm not worthy of love. We're always fighting. My expectations are unreal. Yes, with that person, they absolutely are. But if this is what you want and this is what you desire, then you commit to that and you show up in every connection the same way. And then you be honest with yourself when you gain the proper information to tell you if this is a life or if this is a night type thing. Is this person a lifer like me, or are they just saying that because they want to get something from me, right? Or do I am a lifer, but am I willing to settle for a nighter for a few months, right? Like, just be honest with yourself first, right? And recognize the values of these connections. The most challenging thing in this situation could have been like, for a moment, you may have felt that there was some type of obstacle that you couldn't get past, right? Maybe sometimes in life you had felt like there's a certain area in your life where there was no action. Nothing was growing, right? I'm losing my energy. Psychologically, I feel blocked or I feel paralyzed, right? That could have been what this situation was doing to you. And you almost had to wait it out to figure out what is happening. Why am I feeling this way? What am I going through, right? And then this is where you decide, am I going to invest in this relationship or I'm going to let go? So this connection with this person could have broken you down in more ways than one. It could have. You could have been paralyzed from choosing to stay or go. What am I seeing? What am I not seeing? It could have been some type of, it put you in a mental frenzy. You didn't have access or clear, your thoughts were not clear. It felt like your energy wasn't yours. So listen, sometimes there are connections that are going to take you outside of yourself, so that you can see what that feels like. They're going to cut you off from your thoughts. They are going to remove certain, listen, when you mix your energy with certain people, it is going to muck you up. And sometimes you are removed from yourself so that you can, one, figure out what that feels like, and then figure like, how do I get back to me? What is this? What am I feeling? How come I can't, like, you know what I mean? Obviously, the first thing to do is to stay calm and conserve your energy. Don't give any more energy to it than you have to, because it's already taken enough from you. And what it has taken, it is not replenishing. You know, you're feeling disturbed and scattered. There's tension. There's tension. And so maybe you felt like you lost access to your own concentration for a period of time, right? And it is in this situation where you literally... it's like you get knocked out. You get knocked out, and you didn't see this coming. Obviously, if it's a soulmate connection, this was a pretty intense link between the two of you. And so whatever this started to do to you, it snuck up on you, right? Because in one aspect, you were enjoying it, but on the other, in the back end, something is almost like sucking something from you, whether that's your life force energy, something, but it seemed more mental. This was a mental test. This was a mental test. But I feel like psychological blocks that paralyze you is probably what this relationship may have felt like to you in some kind of way, right? And this was a soulmate. This was with a soulmate. And the idea is the reason why these relationships are critical is because they force us to expand, right? So you don't have access to your mind. And so what do? And the idea is to expand even beyond what you thought your mind was, right? And so now your world is going to open up, and now you get to decide, where are my strengths? What am I good at? How do I move forward? How do I move forward confidently, right? How did you choose yourself? How did you know that you were the best option in this connection? You may not even have had all the evidence. You may not have had what you truly needed to see in order to know that the choice you made was correct, right? How do you make sure you're being proactive and you're not just reacting to some type of fear? I don't know. I'm getting the idea of literally feeling like, I mean, I don't want to say the F word, but like mind, F-U-C-K. Like that's what it could have felt like. A big mind F. But that was the test. Gaining clarity when your clarity is being robbed or when your clarity is being hidden from you, right? Like that is what this is. And so your eyes saw one thing, but every other part of you was picking up something else. And even if you didn't have the evidence, you made the right choice by choosing self, by choosing self-love, by choosing independence. And then we have the idea of there being a life-threatening illness. And so is that something you avoided? Is that the plight of the other person? Maybe their intentions were impure, right? As the nighter, whatever they intended for you or to do with you or against you, is the life-threatening illness a part of their outcome of this connection? I mean, for you, you are moving forward. What was hidden from you is that you were actually building and just stacking your energetic coins for the relationships that you are going to build with people in the future. This person was not one of them, but they were a necessary person on the path in order for you to get to the one that's for you, right? Because there was an aspect of self. You had to see your own light. You had to see your own divinity. Right? You had to be disciplined enough to step away from the connections that are not feeding you. You have to be like, you know what? I liked you for all of the reasons I liked you, but I cannot continue for all of the reasons that I cannot continue. And you don't even have to tell the person why. You just don't continue. Right? And so knowing when to be cautious, knowing when to trust yourself, this person was necessary so that you could see the gravity of your light, how your light works. This was so that you could learn something about yourself. That's what this was for. But it was more about you learning a skill. Like maybe it is a spiritual gift, maybe it is a spiritual ability, but there was a strength that you had that you didn't know you had. And so you almost had to be with somebody that needed you to be so weak in some way, or weakened you in some way so that you could find a strength that was hidden as a result of it. So if you are normally very clear and logical and witty and you connect the dots really well, maybe mentally there was chaos or fog that didn't give you access to what always works for you. So then bam, now you've got this new skill, this new ability that you are learning to use, but you could not have used it or learned it unless you cross paths, right? And so not only did you have to cross paths to learn the skill, but you had to cross paths to see if you were going to use that skill to choose yourself over this type of connection, right? And so this could have been some type of temptation or lust. The eyes discerned the beauty, but not the kindness, right? So this was about the internal spirit of a person. And yeah, they can look good, they can sound good, they can look good on paper, professionally, they can have all of the things, but it doesn't mean that they are fit for life, even if they say they are. Even if they say they are. Okay, I love you. I'm hoping this reading was helpful, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.